Welcome everyone to our August Firewise workshop. Some of you may already know me, but my name is Natasha Saxena, and I work as the Regional Firewise Coordinator for the Ventura Regional Fire Safe Council. If you don't know, Fire Safe Councils are 501c3 nonprofits that serve as local support to educate and empower our communities to better prepare for wildfires. We host these workshops every third Friday of the month, and it's that same link, so you'll likely get an email from me ahead of the month. These workshops are meant to be a supportive environment for those who are applying for or are already part of the Firewise USA program. It's primarily education-based where we share information, but at the end of each workshop, we do a Q&A. And I never want anyone to feel pressure to attend these workshops. I know we all lead busy lives, but you are always welcome to come back at each month whenever you're ready to kickstart Firewise again. We've done some breakout groups in the past and will likely do in the future for you all to connect better. But our plan for today is just to share what programs we at the Ventura Regional Fire Safe Council, or VRFSC for short, have, and what you can utilize to prepare your home or your community. And then stay tuned because we will be sharing information on some grants that we have available that you could apply for as an individual or a already recognized Firewise community. And I also just want to shout out some folks who is attending today. So I think we have Pearl Coombs, who has her whole community possibly watching us today. So I just want to shout that out to you. Okay, and then what we usually do is we go through ground rules and then an agenda. So the ground rules that we have are just save your questions for the end, the Q&A section, or drop them in the chat. We always get to the chat questions first during the Q&A. Remain on mute for now, and then turn off your camera if you would not like to be recorded, but you are going to be recorded, and we'd love to see your lovely faces. You'll be able to watch these workshops on YouTube. Myra tends to upload them. And then for the Q&A section, just use your raise your hand feature if you'd like to speak, or you can use the chat. Be respectful of everyone's times. And then if you have more questions, I'll show you how, but you can schedule a Firewise office hour with me, and we can talk more in depth about the question that you might have if it's more specific to your community. So this might be a refresher for a lot of you, but I have been with the Fire Safe Council for about 2 years now, 2 years in July. I studied at Cal State Channel Islands and was in the sustainability space for a little bit. And it's been a totally new world going into the wildfire space. And even though I've only been here for 2 years, I've learned a lot in a short amount of time, and I still feel very new to the wildfire space. There's folks who have been in the wildfire industry for 10 plus years and are still learning new things every day. Then we have our amazing programs manager, Mason Thurmond. She is relatively new to our team, but not new to our organization. She used to work with the RCD, the Resource Conservation District, and she's been a powerhouse since joining, so she's also here today. Then we have Myra De Leon, our Communications and Outreach Specialist. She'll admit you all to the Zoom rooms and might chat in response to some of you, and she will also upload these videos to YouTube. And then we usually have Larry Williams. I believe he might be here today or will join later on for the Q&A section, but he is our contact with the Ventura County Fire Department, and he's critical to the Firewise USA program, and often many of you will have a site visit from him, or we'll talk about your application with him before submitting it. Okay, so then the agenda for today. So again, this is going to be all about our programs. So I'm just going to shout out a quick event that we have coming up in November. Then for those of you who are new or just want a refresher, I'll just go over the Firewise USA 101, the basics of the program, and then a few tips. And then we'll get into the programs. It'll probably only take about 15 minutes, and then we'll go for a little break where you guys can explore any links that we've shared in the chat, and then go for a Q&A.
So as the Ventura Regional Fire Safe Council, like Natasha said, we're a 501c3, and every year we have our end of the year big sort of celebration where we do a fundraiser and also thank every one of our partners in the community that work with us, that support our mission and all of our programs. So we're really excited this year. We're really going to be focusing on celebrating our commitment to Ventura County's Firewise communities. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually type in the link to the event page where if you would like to join us, this is an official invitation. Please join us on November 14th. It's a Thursday evening, starting at 5:30 at Copa in Ventura off of Colt Street. And we're going to be having, I believe the first drink is on us. And then after that, you can, continue celebrating. And we're probably going to be having other refreshments and food and goodies, prizes. The last couple of years, we've had a silent auction going on and some really great speeches from some of our leaders in the community, including fire personnel and other nonprofits and partners that, like I said, really support the wildfire safety cause in Ventura County. So I really encourage you guys to please come out and take some lovely pictures with us and celebrate with us. I really hope to see you all there.
All right, so the Firewise USA one-on-one area. So basically, Firewise USA is a national recognition program run by the NFPA, and applications are reviewed by CAL FIRE. It's been running for more than a decade, and there are now 18 communities in Ventura County, which is amazing because we had 2 just last year. Over 800 in the state of California, and one of our very own community in Thousand Oaks was recognized by CAL FIRE as the 800th community. And then we have over 2,000 recognized sites across America. Because it's a decade-long program, there's a lot of research, and it has been proven to, certain communities have proven the prevention of multiple structure losses in their community, but it is a program where you really get what you give. The program provides a framework for the neighborhood to basically rally around their fire concerns and take action to reduce risks. And some of the benefits include safer, more prepared communities. There's some financial benefits, mainly like insurance benefits, but those aren't a guarantee, and we recommend that you reach out to your insurance agency to see if you qualify for that. And then I'd also like to shout out that we have flyers available for the community, which Myra will drop the link in the chat in a bit. And then you can always spread the word about Firewise and try to apply for it. So some of the steps that are involved is to first and foremost form a team. This can be a really easy step in some communities where they already have a very active community, but it can be also a very difficult step for certain communities. So you really have to be having at least 2 to 3, ideally 4 dedicated folks in your community that are willing to apply for this program and continue the work year by year. Then you assess your wildfire risk. Ventura County Fire Department helps with this, and we are still growing our program to hopefully help any community that's applying in the future. Developing an action plan, you can actually schedule a chat with me and I can kind of give you some ideas of what you might want to include in that action plan. Then report on your investment and vegetation removed. This is an annual requirement, and host an annual outreach event, and then apply online. If you'd like to know any more about the Firewise programs and how to start, we also have a Firewise 101 video from a past workshop available online too. So some quick Firewise tips. A pretty new one is the fact that the monetary equivalent for a volunteer hour went up to $33.49. What this means is that for those who are already part of the program or are applying for the program, 1 volunteer hour counts towards that monetary equivalent that you have to meet a certain amount of investment every year. So let's say you have 50 homes in your community, you have to meet the monetary equivalent of $50. But if you can record voluntary hours, like somebody cleaning their gutters, then that counts towards that monetary investment. And then you can start your application anytime online. And there's also a helpful drop-down menu as you're applying, so you can easily switch to any of the pages that you want. And then don't hit submit until you're completely ready. And you might experience some rejections. What I recommend for that is first submitting your application to me and Larry Williams ahead of time first. And then we can see what steps you might need to take so that you can have the best chance of success. If you do get a rejection, don't stress. NFPA always leaves comments and CAL FIRE always leaves comments, so you can improve your application and have more success the next round. And then the action plan, you'll have to update every 3 years. I recommend including in your year 3 that you're going to meet with your team again to re-update the action plan. And then the risk assessment, you'll update every 5 years. This is kind of a chance to expand your boundaries if you'd like, or keep it smaller if you'd like to. But that's what you can do every 5 years as well. And then utilize our website. We have quite a lot of resources, and I'll walk you through that in a bit as well. So jumping on to our programs, I created this little graphic so you can kind of see what you can do at the individual level if you're not yet a Firewise community, or if you tried to apply for as a Firewise community but maybe aren't getting the involvement that you need. This is what you could do at the individual level to still reduce your risk. So our most popular program is the Home Wildfire Assessments. We'll go over that. Resident Grant Program, you can kind of see that we have funding available and deadlines are August 31st to apply. Then at the community level, you can try to apply for Firewise USA. Education and outreach is a cool and unique one. So let's say Firewise USA isn't the best fit for your community. You can perhaps just choose to focus on hosting a once-a-year workshop for your entire community and asking us to present at that workshop. And then we do chipper events as well. So the home wildfire assessments that we offer are completely no cost to anyone in Ventura County who is in a fire severity zone. They are completely private as well. So at the end of each assessment, we share a report that will be only available to the homeowner, and you can choose whether you'd like to share it or not. Some folks print it out for their neighbors to see because they'll have very similar risks, and your house is often only as safe as your neighbors. And then another thing about our assessments is we are a nonprofit, so all of our recommendations are for educational purposes only, and we don't enforce. But this is a great way to really learn what risks you might have to your home, and a lot of homes have multiple risks. We can identify your priority actions, try to make it more affordable for you. And yeah, the report is just a really great way to visualize what you might have to do for your home. And then the resident grant program, I'm actually going to pass off to Mason to talk a little bit about. So Mason, if you're ready, go ahead and talk about it.
Just come off mute here. So our resident grant program is a program that we offer to at the individual level, as Natasha discussed, mainly for home retrofits that relate to home hardening, things that have been named previously in a home hardening or a home wildfire assessment provided by us, as well as defensible space clearance. So there are a lot of folks that when they receive their home wildfire assessment want to, you know, make a lot of these changes, but they can be cost prohibitive or at times like you're not physically able to do the work. So we have procured some funds, pretty small scale, to do work on individual folks' property within Ventura County. And right now we're using an application-based system to prioritize based on a few different factors who needs the work done the soonest. And so some of those factors include wildfire risk. So we're using those fire hazard severity zone maps that are provided by Ventura County Fire Department. We're using vulnerability indicators such as low income, disability status, veteran status, level of English spoken in the home, things like that. If you're interested in all of the factors that we consider when we're prioritizing applicants, the best way to learn more about those factors is actually just to open up the application and review. So all of the information is just information that is like volunteered to us. We're not necessarily looking to, you know, review any documentation around what is claimed there. We also do ask the question about like, why are you requesting this assistance? So right now it's open to anybody in Ventura County. And we just extended our deadline to August 31st because the application has been open for maybe about like 1 or 2 months. So we just extended. We're hoping to get a few more applicants to review. At this time, we don't have an exact number of how many folks we're going to be able to help, because every resident will kind of need a little bit of a different prescription or a different offer. So if you navigate to our website, I think we'll show you a little bit later exactly how to navigate to that page on the website. You can review the application and a little bit more information. We are still, this is kind of like a pilot program for us. It's just, we have noticed a lot of need in the community and a lot of desire for something like this. So we're still developing it, and we're definitely open to feedback. As you can see in this photo, we're also partnered with the Crew based out of Ojai. So they're another nonprofit, and they're doing a lot of the defensible space clearance. So right now it's kind of happening at like a small scale. It's not super fast paced, but with regards to like clearance deadlines, if this is something that you're interested, you know, for the next round of clearance that needs to happen by June 1st, we are in communication with the local fire department agencies. So if it's not, say maybe you still need to do your clearance and you're not in compliance yet, or, you know, a neighbor, something like that, you know, maybe they're elderly and they can't be doing the work. Even if they're past compliance, we can be in communication with Ventura County Fire Department, Fillmore Fire, Ventura City Fire Department, all those folks, and make sure that people are not getting citations for that. As you know, we work pretty closely with the agencies. So yeah, I think those are some of the main partners. Right now we're doing the retrofits internally, and they're, again, fairly small scale, but small things can definitely make a difference when, you know, addressing a home's wildfire resilience. So if you have more questions about it, it's kind of vague right now, the details that I'm giving, just because, you know, we're still developing the program. So if you have questions about it, definitely ask in the Q&A, but I also recommend just reviewing the application. There's not really any hard lines about like whether you will or will not receive assistance at this point. If you can make the case and communicate, you know, this is why we really need this help, please, you know, fill that out. It takes about 15 minutes. And if you have folks in your community, another reason we really wanted to share about that program within this meeting space is that y'all are probably connected to more folks who might benefit or be eligible for this type of assistance. So do spread the word. And if there's anybody that can't do the application online because of the online format, they can definitely give us a call. And Sarah, who is on this call as well, can walk you through and actually fill out that application for the applicant, you know, and do the online version for them, and they would just be doing it on the phone. So we want to make it accessible. Right now it's only in English. But if there is interest in having it in Spanish, we can try and make that happen too. All right, that's probably past my time limit, but so much to share. Thanks.
That was perfect, Mason. Thank you. And then something I'd also just like to add to that is you might also be wondering, what are these recommendations based on? How are we prioritizing these actions, and how like well knowledgeable is our team? Well, our team regularly receives trainings on the latest science, and IBHS is the organization that performs all these experiments to homes to see what happened during the last major wildfires, why did certain homes burn down, and that's how we're trained. We often get training along Ventura County Fire Department and CAL FIRE. So in fact, most of our team was gone this past week at a conference in Oxnard, learning exactly this and getting retrained on some of this science. So that's just something to note. And then the resident grant program and home hardening program really go hand in hand in that sense. You can get the wildfire risk assessment first, the home hardening assessment first, and then it just helps us understand what risk your home is actually in for us to be able to perform the resident grant program. Moving on to what you all are mostly here for, so Firewise USA assistance. I already told you a little bit about what the Firewise USA program is, but I'll mention some of the things that we assist with, and I'll preface it with this program is still very much in development. We really only started offering assistance this year for this program, and last year we were doing it here and there when it was just growing in a bud program in the county. So currently we have these monthly workshops every month. You can also schedule a chat with me on our website anytime. And we do still present at communities to encourage folks to join the program or just inform the program. But personally, I prefer doing the wildfire workshops. That's where folks can learn at a community level what they can do to their homes. It's kind of like the home assessment at a workshop level. And then I really encourage everybody to do some self-research on our website, because we've really developed that page to see if the Firewise USA program is a good fit for your community. And then in the future, I hope that we can provide some site visits to help you all along your risk assessments and action plan. And then Myra can drop in a link in the chat for both the resident grant program. So if you'd like to apply for that, Myra can drop a link so that you all can see if you qualify. And then the Firewise USA assistance. So we also have a link where you can apply to get flyers from us. And if you want somebody speaking at an event, like your annual event, you can also apply to have one of us speak at that as well. And then chipper event, I'm going to pass it off to Mason again to talk about this one too.
Yeah, and I'll be able to keep this one a bit more brief because we are going to be doing a workshop specifically on, or I should say Natasha will be doing a workshop specifically on how to request and host a chipper event for your Firewise community. So the key points that I think are important for you all to know is that we have two major formats. So we have a curbside chipper event and a drop-off chipper event. So the picture that you're looking at now on the right side there is from our drop-off chipper event, and that looks like might have been in Ventura Park, it might have been somewhere else entirely. These are also available throughout the county. We will be hiring and onboarding a specific coordinator for this role, so our capacity for working with you to coordinate these events should be increasing incredibly over the next couple of weeks here. And you will have like a point person for that we'll share with you. So anyway, there's the drop off or the curbside drop off is typically stationed at like a kind of a communal or a central point within a neighborhood or community, and folks are responsible in that case for doing the clearance, gathering all of their chippable materials, transporting it to the drop off, and then at that point we can, or our crews that we hire can unload, chip all of the material, and take care of disposal. Curbside can be a little bit easier for the residents, but depending on the narrowness of the street, it's not always suitable for certain neighborhoods. In that case, though, the resident is still responsible for doing the clearance and gathering up the chippable materials, but they just have to transport it to the edge of their curb. They don't have to load it up and bring it down to the like chipper location, because the chipper will actually be coming to them and it will roll through maybe for like 1, 2, 3 days in a given week, and then the crews chip that material and still handle disposal. Some people like to keep their chips, and in that case, that's definitely an option. We can spray the chips back onto folks' property. So those are the main differences between the two formats. At this stage, depending on Firewise status, depending on different characteristics of the community and like the high need and in terms of like income and vulnerability that we mentioned before with like the resident grant program, as well as like the wildfire risk, we are able to do like kind of a sliding scale of cost share. So there's not really a blanket for what we can offer to each community, but we definitely can offer assistance. It's just going to vary depending on the ability of that community. And we do, I suppose, want to maximize our time and the crew's time when we handle these events. So in that case, like, it's really great if there's a Firewise community and people are signed up and they're ready to go, and we're able to help, somewhere from like 30 to 50. More is great for a drop off. So those are kind of some considerations. And I think the key points to think about when requesting assistance with hosting a chipper event. Anything else that I missed, Natasha?
No, I think that was perfect, Mason. Thanks too. And I think you said a great word earlier, which was just like, I think you mentioned need, and that's really what all of these programs are based off of, a need-based. If you are in a community and you find that you want a program, feel free to just email the info@venturafiresafe.org or email me if you're already in contact. And we can always see about trying to expand our programs. Granted, we are a nonprofit, so it goes on a small timeline. But correct me if I'm wrong, Mason. So if anybody wants a chipper event, are they able to just email us and we will put them on some sort of list or keep them in mind?
Yes, at this stage, if you have Firewise status or you're at any point in the process of achieving it, even if that means like board formed, I would probably recommend doing it through the assistance form. Because that is one of like the boxes you can check, and it's just a little bit easier for us to keep track of those. If not, if you're just a tight community and that's not the path y'all are choosing to go for whatever reason, it's not a good fit for you, but you still do want to have a chipper event, then yeah, emailing info@venturafiresafe.org is your next best bet, and following up if you don't hear back right away.
Awesome, thank you. So again, the link is in the chat because Myra, thank you, dropped it in there. And then this is something that I shared last month at the last workshop, but repetition is key, so I'm going to share it again. The last form of assistance that we have for Firewise USA is the fact that we have funding available for recognized sites. This is a really cool thing that we offer. I loved it when we got this grant. It's a small grant, so each community can only get up to $1,000 per community if you're recognized, but it's small but mighty. I think it's really impactful in a lot of these communities. So on the left, you'll see the Golden Oaks community applied to get these yard signs, which has been really encouraging folks in their community to get the wildfire assessment from us. And the Onalona community, if you ever drive through Ventura, you'll see it in their yards as well. And then another community applied to get metal dryer vents. Very, very cool because IBHS certification, if anybody is trying to apply for that certification, really hard to, but they require metal dryer vents. Another thing is to get those metal mesh that is 1/8 or smaller. Some communities have applied for that. That's to prevent large embers from a nearby wildfire igniting the inside of your home by getting through those vents. So if you have smaller mesh, 1/8 or smaller, embers will still come through, but they'll be ideally smaller and burn out instead of igniting something in your home. Another community did a chipper event. One tried to do a survey where they did do a survey where they identified some of the most hazardous trees that needed some maintenance, and they used that $1,000 towards a tree trimming project. And then at the bottom right, you'll see the sign in Golden Oaks home. So very cool, and you can apply for this through that link if you're recognized, but I also send out a personal email to any recognized community so that they can get the reminder and apply. This is available, I think, through December right now, but we're still hashing out the deadlines based on our grants. And then finally, education and outreach. We do this as a organization as well. On the top left, you'll see us at the VC Fair. I unfortunately didn't take any really great pictures, but that is where we had a map of all of our Firewise recognized communities and some ones that are applying. Anybody who is a bystander during the event could scan the link, find their house within a community if they were within a Firewise community, and then contact the resident leader to join the effort. So really cool. And then we do more events. And then my favorite one, again, is the wildfire workshops that we can provide for any community, whether you're Firewise or not. The bottom right one was me doing one of those presentations in Saddle Mountain, Oak View area, and they're now recognized as a Firewise community. But those are really great because you can talk to your neighbors and potentially share costs on some of the retrofits that you might have to perform, or even share contractors, which is really helpful. And then lastly, this is our team. So you might be wondering who are the people that are behind all this work, or you might not, but still fun to introduce us. So we have Stephen Watson, who's our executive director. Then we have Sarah Wortman, who is our finance and admin manager. They formed the team for the grants team. So they're really applying for grants, which is what's allowing us to fund a lot of this work. And Mason joins in that effort as well. And Sarah, you might recognize if you are a recognized Firewise community, she's going to help you purchase some of those items like the tree trimming project, and you'll likely invoice her as well. Then we have Mason, who is our programs manager, Max Young, who he actually started the Firewise effort within our organization, and now he's heading a lot of the chipper program and resident grant program. And then we have Myra and me. So between the three of us, Max, Myra, and myself, we all also still do the assessments. So we're likely to be the assessors on those home wildfire assessments. One day a week we do that, and the rest of the week we're trying to do these programs. And then our latest addition to the team is Sarah Rodriguez. She's in the chat, she's in the call today, but she's an operations assistant. So welcome, Sarah. And then we also have a new fuels and chipper coordinator coming soon. So that is our team. And then I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and do a really brief overview of our website so that you all can navigate some of the programs that we mentioned today. Alrighty, so this is the website. It's venturafiresafe.org. Myra set up this cool sliding thing right here so you can always see what our latest events are. And then on the top right here, can you see it? It's there are tabs up above here that says Wildfire Resiliency Programs, Resources, About Us, and Get Involved. So something cool to note is our Resources tab, where you can go to events and sign up for the latest events that we have and our newsletter. And then we have the Wildfire Resiliency Programs. So this is where you're going to go sign up for a wildfire assessment. So I'll show you right now. If I click that, I get here, wildfire assessment. I can schedule an assessment right here. And it takes me to this page where I will type in my address, see if my property qualifies. And then from there, it'll ask me to schedule an assessment with our assessors. This is the best way to sign up for an assessment, but you can also call us if you're having any difficulties. Then we have our chipping program, so you can learn more details about that. If you have a chipping program in your community set up, I'd recommend reading this to just see everything that might be required from your chipper to qualify, from your wood pile to qualify. Then we have the Firewise USA Assistance up at the top here again, Wildfire Resilience Program to Firewise USA Assistance. You'll find the 6 steps. You can even click on a step to learn more about it. You can sign up for a workshop, which is probably how you signed up today, chat with our coordinator, me, and then watch any past workshops on YouTube. We have an FAQ section, sample documents, and the cool thing that we have now updated is this map of recognized and in progress communities. So you can see where you are on the map if it loads for me here. And then I'm just going to scroll all the way back to the top here, going back down to Wildfire Resiliency Programs. The final one that I'll shout out today is Resident Grant Program. You already have the link to it, but this is where you're going to learn more about the program. Select Apply Now, and it'll take you to this form. Read through the form, see if you qualify. As you type in a question, it'll most likely ask more questions based on your answer. So just know it might take, Mason, how long do you think it'll take folks to sign up, to go through the application?
It's probably about 15 minutes. So it's quick for what you might be able to get, but it's thorough, right? Because we want to just get the best picture that we can of the residents. And then as a quick update, we did initially have the deadline as August 16th, but recently, like yesterday, decided let's push it to the 31st. So there's probably a few discrepancies that we haven't caught yet and fixed in the deadlines, but it is open until August 31st. We'll work on making sure that all those dates are cohesive soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, thank you. So normally we go for a 5-minute break, but I think we have a pretty small group today, so we can just go ahead and jump right into some of the questions. I think Mason, Myra, have you seen any questions in the chat? Should we go address those first?
Yeah, I saw Kevin's question. I did reply to it in the chat, but I'll just reply to it verbally as well to make sure that my answer makes sense. So he had asked about the Arroyo Santa Rosa Canyon in Santa Rosa Valley. Would the resident grant program be applicable for multiple residents or or parcels that have a lot of brush clearance needs? So at this time, the resident grant program application is probably not the best forum for it, though in some ways it makes sense. When you look through it, you'll be like, okay, this doesn't really apply to multiple. If you think that those parcels or the residents there would qualify, everybody could submit individually and then get defensible space clearance that way. We are also working, this is not something we necessarily talked about in the presentation, but we are trying to kind of catalog the information about communities that need defensible space clearance. So in that case, I almost recommend, just emailing, because it doesn't quite fit into either of those assistance request forms. However, if that community already does have a Firewise status, you can certainly go through the Firewise form and say, hey, okay, we want CHIP or we want this. Because it doesn't fit quite into both, I might just recommend emailing so we can kind of talk out exactly what it is that you're looking for. Is it clearance? Is it chipping? A little bit of both. And then that way we can probably talk it out to see which program is the best fit for folks. So that's my non-answer answer.
That's great. Thank you, Mason. Let's see.
There was one question back during the Firewise tips section that you were giving, Natasha, in which Patrick was asking if we can extend the Firewise boundaries during the first year instead of waiting until 3 years when the update comes through.
Wait, could you actually repeat that, Myra? Sorry.
Yes.
But when
No
I
worries.
yeah.
So the question was, can we extend the Firewise boundaries, I'm assuming of the neighborhood, during the first year instead of waiting until 3 years, which is when the action plan needs to get updated?
Okay, good question. So basically, the action plan doesn't really have to do with your map. The risk assessment would, so that's every 5 years. If you would like to extend the boundary, I would recommend you reach out to NFPA and see if that's possible. You'll most likely have to reapply, and it'll have to be approved by CAL FIRE through the same process all over again. But it'd be easier because you'd have the action plan already set up, all that stuff. But that's just because the NFPA, they are tied with insurance agencies, and they'll send the mapping zip codes to see who qualifies twice a year to insurance agencies. So that's why I'd recommend, if you are going to expand your boundaries, contact them, and then they will send you the next steps that you might have to go through. But it would have to be approved by CAL FIRE if you'd want to get it sooner than the 5 years. But yeah, that'd be my answer to that question. And then I think I have someone named Deborah just said, Deborah said, I will have to leave the Zoom early. Will it be recorded? Yes, it will be recorded and available to view. And then, perfect. I think we could take live questions. Mark, I think you had a question if you want to go ahead and ask.
Yeah, hi, I'm Mark Evans. I'm the chairperson of Moraga Orinda Firewise Network. We actually have 34 recognized Firewise neighborhoods right now, about 4,000 dwelling units. And so I heard about you guys, so I'm really excited to listen. You guys have much better information to share with your community than we do. We're doing a little hand over fist type of approach, so good to catch up with you. I just wanted to comment on that expanding your neighborhoods, because I'm also a regional coordinator for my area, so I've talked to CAL FIRE multiple times. So you can. It's a little bit, I agree with what you're saying, Natasha, just reach out to CAL FIRE. It's not really NFPA, because CAL FIRE has to communicate the boundaries to the California Department of Insurance. So, I mean, you always got to copy NFPA, but really the key is CAL FIRE and California Department of Insurance. They would much prefer you make a big one and never change it, but that's not the reality. A lot of times people start with smaller neighborhoods and then sort of grow it when people start getting engaged. but so my only advice is just engage your CAL FIRE regional coordinator to kind of grease the skids.
Definitely. That's a good one, Mark. And hopefully we'll get the CAL FIRE folks to join us in a call in the future. That way everybody can get familiar. I don't think a lot of people have their contact at the moment. So if you do need their contact, you can reach out to me, but NFPA will also be able to connect you with it. That's a great one to note too. But it is really nice to have your Firewise boundary be like a tight-knit group too, because then you can get the word spread out a bit nicer. And then as you grow, as you get the word spread out, like Mark said, it might just be inevitable that you'll grow a little bit. But you could also always see if the other community that wants to join, if they're big enough to become a separate Firewise community, that's also possible too. And do we have any other questions in the chat?
Yeah, there's one from Deborah. When applying online for a home assessment, can multiple homes in one community be scheduled together for the same day or two? Great question. So yes, as long as our assessors are available. So right now, when you go to schedule the assessment, you'll see it'll ask you kind of like, after what date are you looking for? What date are you available? And then let's say it pulls up, you know, August 20th. And then at that point, or you say, I'm available anytime after August 20th. We also have you select what neighborhood you're in. So if you're in Ventura, it will show you the specific dates where we have an assessor in Ventura, because we have kind of reworked our assessors' schedules so that they're not bopping all over the county in the same day. So we actually have one day where Natasha's in Ventura. Then we have one day where Myra is in Fillmore and Simi and Morro. So if there's multiple time slots on that day that you're looking at, then we would love to be able to go to all of the neighbors. There's just the only caveat is maybe there's other people that have already booked for that day. However, if you are specifically interested in that, I would just recommend scheduling out a bit into the future. And then when it shows you the 9 a.m. is available, the 10:30, the 12, all of those are available, then you and your neighbors just snag all of those at the same time if that's really important and you want to do them together.
Sweet. And then I think, Kevin, I think you mentioned that you could apply for assistance to the Firewise USA assistance form. You absolutely can, but when it comes to resident grant program, that's going to be a separate form, just to clarify that difference. So you'll want to send that resident grant program to the individuals, but then you as a community can apply through the Firewise USA assistance form.
Hey,
Also,
I wanted to ask how'd it go at the Ventura County Fair where you were going to set up a booth and get people walking in and talking about it? How did that go?
Yeah, that went pretty well. I think I was there for the setup. So I saw the setup and it was a really, really nice looking setup. Myra had printed out the maps, which was awesome. And then we also had some like photos of success stories in the community and how to apply for Firewise USA. But Myra was actually there one of the days. So Myra, if you want to share some words. Okay.
Sure. So we also presented on August 3rd at 2 o'clock. We essentially had a workshop going where we talked about our programs, including Firewise, and a little bit of the home hardening defensible space principles that we usually go over during the assessments. And then Ventura County Fire Department talked a little bit more about their Ready, Set, Go and evacuation programs. And that's pretty good. I think if I were to take a lessons learned, honestly, I would probably say that I want to make that workshop a little later in the day when it's hotter outside and more people are probably trying to get inside into the building to get a respite from the heat, but also catch a Firewise presentation. The booth itself looked really great. Basically, Ventura County Fire Department partnered with us so that at their booth, they had a timeline of Ventura County Fire Department's history, including the fire safe councils. And then when it talks about Firewise, they actually put these firefighter boot decals on the ground and literally had the boots walk over to our booth and enter into our booth so that the first thing you see is the home hardening displays, and then you walk through it and see the Firewise USA communities. And has all the info on there for those communities. So it was a pretty pretty neat booth. We were really excited for people to interact with it. There was a bunch of QR codes about learning about the resident grant program and Firewise USA. And then, like Natasha said, a QR code that was right next to the big map of Ventura County where Firewise USA communities were listed. And they could scan that and it would take them directly to the interactive map online where they can search for their address and see if they were in a Firewise community. We got a little, I was just going to say, we got some really great feedback and some more people signing up for our newsletter. So hopefully they'll learn more about our programs through that interaction. So.
Nice. Thanks, Mara. And I think, Kevin, we did have the list of everybody that was a resident leader, and one of you, I think your contact was on there as well. But because we put the contact directly, I have no clue if anybody reached out to the resident leaders. You didn't get anything? Okay, that's good to know. Good to know.
It's probably a good thing because I was probably in France at the time. So anyway.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, I hope you enjoyed your France trip. That sounds fun. But yeah, hopefully we'll get more engagement in the future. But I think that's why we love to push more local stuff, as local as you can get it. So if you ever want workshops and you want to invite your neighbors to your house, happy to host a presentation there too. But any other questions when it comes to our programs or anything we missed in the chat, or even Firewise USA, if any of you are applying and have questions?
I got one.
Yeah, I think Deborah raised her hand first, so I'm just going to
Okay.
go ahead for Deborah right now.
Hi, yeah, regarding the Firewise presentations, I know I was at one, I think over a year ago at the CME town center or something. I'm in Thousand Oaks. I'm I'm on the committee as a homeowner. But when you come to do the presentation at a neighborhood, like we're going to try to plan one in maybe November, do you bring obviously the materials and the flyers, do you bring some of those boards which show the neighborhoods and history, or basically just the flyers?
That's a really good question. I normally touch base with everybody, anyone I'm planning with. So Deborah, I would give you a call and see what materials you might need, and I'll tell you what's available. It might be a good idea for us to bring what we brought to the Ventura County Fair and actually have that nice success story display so anybody can interact with. That's a really great idea. I never thought about that. So I think we're going to do that. We actually have one tonight, so I'm going to use that. But when it comes to flyers, I actually really recommend that you request it through that Firewise assistance form, specifically because that form will take you to the NFPA page to order flyers yourself, and every community, regardless of what stage you are in the process, is eligible to receive 50 pamphlets of 2 different resources they have completely for free. So you can order that today if you wanted. And the reason why I encourage that more is because so far we still have to connect with them to see if we can get more than 50 as an organization. But right now we can't. So it's very minimal. So I'd say for your community, order that ahead of time of that event. And that way you can bring it to those events. Yeah, cool. And then Kevin, you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, the wildfire community risk assessment, I really would like to get Larry involved in coming on site and looking at the neighborhood, but how available is he lately? Is that still available? Is he still available?
I've actually been meaning to connect with you, Kevin, and that is on me. Mason and I identified some site visit days. So we're going to try to get Larry on board, but if Larry can't make it, we still have the knowledge that we need for your risk assessment. So I'll connect with you, see about the days that Mason and I identified and see if that works with your schedule and maybe some folks in your community. And we're going to use your community as kind of a pilot to see how we can do the risk assessment and make it useful for you. Santa Barbara Fire Safe Council, I believe they do a one-stop shop. They do the risk assessment and the action plan in one day, but I know that they're having some trial and errors. So I really want to connect with them and see how that's going, because I think I've heard some mixed reviews and how difficult it can be to do it all in one day. But we're going to use your community as a pilot. So if anybody else would like a site visit, use the assistance form and toggle it. But Kevin, I'll reach out to you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All righty then. If anybody else has any more questions, feel free to email me or schedule a chat. I'd be happy to talk more in depth. And then looks like we didn't have Larry on board with this one, but he's normally on these chats as well. Thank you so much for attending. I think Mason has some closing comments that she'll share, but I always love seeing everybody attend. And Deborah, hi, Debbie, hi. But yeah, go ahead, Mason.
Sure, forgot about that. I mean, I guess this entire presentation was really a plug for how we can help you. We would like to, and I suppose one closing comment is that we are open to your feedback as we develop these programs. So most of the things we have developed are in response to what we are kind of taking in as community needs and desires. But it's really important that we have a good pulse on what those community needs and desires are. So your question today, Kevin, about like, oh, how we're not really fitting into like this flow chart exactly right, is really good data and information for us to continue to refine these processes. We hope to make these forms like simpler and easier. They're probably not the easiest thing right now. But just, yeah, the reason that we're here is to help you all out as well as the rest of the county. So know that we're open to communication and open to feedback so that we can help you, the best that we're able. I suppose that's it. I hope you all have a great weekend. We will be sending out a schedule for a little bit of like what the next workshop topics are so that if it's one that you want to tune into or not. So Natasha's been working away at lining up the rest of the year's topics, and hopefully they're ones that you're excited about. We're trying to get into some good stuff around, aligning WaterWise and Firewise and getting CAL FIRE and NFPA on some calls. So we'll be in touch with what those topics are for the coming months, and I suppose we'll see you next time.
A little update on that too. So next month we will be doing exactly what Mason just mentioned. We're doing a Firewise and WaterWise gardening workshop via Zoom, and we're having Ventura Water visit and share the presentation. So we'll see you next time then. Alrighty, bye-bye everyone.
Bye everybody. Thank you so much.